Hi everyone, welcome back to Mandy. What we have here is a parole hearing for first degree murder. It is an interesting case. I have the case file where he actually sued to have a right, and we'll go through that, to have a right for parole because of his life sentence. On the bottom left is his attorney. On the right, we have the district attorney and I think the assistant district attorney and the victim's family. We're waiting right now to start. So while we're just waiting, I will read over the memorandum order. So as it goes, Clifton C Greene petitioner was convicted of first-degree murder committed in August 1993. He was given a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the benefit of parole and probation. So this, by the way, makes me think that he won this court case because this is a regular parole hearing, not a commutation of a life sentence. How do we know that? There are only 3 judges. A commutation would always have 5. So I wonder if because he was under 18, he won, but we'll see. I didn't read this yet. At the time of his crime, he seeks to challenge the constitutionality of his sentence in light of Miller versus Alabama, which was a 2012 ruling which held mandatory life imprisonment without parole for those under the age of 18 at the time they committed the crime, violates the 8th Amendment. So what happened? Let's see, I'll include this link in the description. It will likely a few months before the Supreme Court of Louisiana takes further action in Montgomery. It is also possible that Louisiana legislators will address the issue. Either way, will likely go a long way in determining what relief will be available. Petitioner, in this case, this court will accordingly continue to monitor the proceedings. Oh, so this, what we're finding here was filed in 2016. So I'm going to assume that he, again, won this and now is his first right to parole. We'll find out soon when they start. What's the violation permitting homicide offenders to be considered for parole? It cited an example of recent. I'm trying to find information on his actual case. If I find it, I'll review it after the hearing because I think it's going to start soon. But it doesn't look great for him. I don't see any of his family members here, not on the Zoom call, nor with him. He has an attorney, but...
Mr. Greene, your family is en route. We're going to go ahead and get our hearing started, and when they come, we'll let them in, okay?
Yes, sir.
Your case was assigned to me, so I'll begin our questioning. Mr. Greene, how old are you, sir?
47.
How long have you been in prison on these charges?
29 and 5 months. 29 years and 5 months.
Tell me a little bit about your educational background.
But throughout school, you know, I was in special education through my whole school year, going through school and stuff. So that was basically my education. I was barely reading and writing when I came there in Angola.
How old were when you went to prison? 17?
Yes, sir.
And what have you done since then? Have you gotten your GED?
Yes, sir. I got my high set, which is Louisiana new GED.
Okay.
Got my high set. I got my welding degree, telecommunication.
Tell me a little bit about who you were at 17 years old. Who were you living with at the time?
When I was 17, and I was basically from house to house, you know, from one family member to the hood, to my mom.
What about your mother and father? Where were they?
Well, my mother was living in Shreveport, and my father lived in Houston, but it was mostly my stepdad.
And at 17 years old, had you dropped out of school?
Yes, sir. I had dropped out probably when I was 16.
Did you ever work?
No, sir. Probably just
Tell me about your drug and alcohol use. When did you start using drugs?
probably about when probably like around about when I was about 15, 16 years old,
Did you start using?
smoking marijuana.
And you progressed from marijuana to what?
Well, I tried Mojo in 2015 in prison. And
So marijuana is the only drug you ever took? You ever try cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines, anything like that?
no, sir.
By drinking.
I drunk occasionally. Probably drank beer.
So tell me, 17 years old, what were you doing in the car with all these guys in shooting? Tell me how that happened.
Well, it was like a Manny and Zawadi thing that, you know, we fed into over the years from small town to small town. And it just went out of control. We went through there, we went to Manny, we went to Apollo Apartments. When we made it through the Apollo Apartments, you know, me and Ken Thomas started shooting.
What'd you do? What were you doing with a gun?
Well, Ken's brother had just stole the gun, and we were just passing it around.
You fired the gun, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your criminal history prior to that. You ever gone to prison before?
No, sir. I had
Yep. Go ahead.
I had a auto theft charge when I was probably like 14, but that got dismissed. That's other than that, I ain't never been to prison.
Tell me how that 17-year-old young man that came to prison has changed into today. Why should I vote to give you an early release?
But it's not because I deserve anything. But over the years, you know, I took my education serious. At one point in my life, I never thought that I'd be able to even receive a GED or a trade or anything like that. And, you know, I didn't let my situation stop me from trying to do better my life. And I knew the only way I could better my life is to educate myself. So, you know, I'm not the same person that I was at 17 that I am now. You know, I think now before I make decisions. You know, I consider other people. I know I'm not the only person in this world. You know, I'm not afraid to ask for help anymore.
I'm looking at some of the programs that you've taken. You've taken Thinking for a Change, 100 Hours of Pre-Release, Malachi Dads. You've done a number of substance abuse programs. What is your plan to stay sober if you were to get out?
Well, I plan to find me another AA meeting so I can continue my sobriety. You know, just, you know, like the AA teacher teaches that, you know, you're always an addict. And it's just like right now, even though I done received a certificate from all those programs, from both of those programs, you know, I still go to the AA meetings. And, you know, if the board see fit to grant me, that's what I'll continue to do. I'll find me another group, another sponsor.
Now, you got to write up your last hearing. You were denied parole for a number of reasons, one of which was you had write-up for Mojo. And in the notes from the hearing, you were encouraged to stay write-up free because I believe the panel encouraged you to continue the hard work you were doing, to remain write-up free and then reapply when you had the opportunity. Yet in November of 2020, you got another write-up for contraband. What was that about?
Well, you know, not to use anything for excuse, because I violated, and I got caught and I got disciplined for it. But at the time, it was the pandemic, and you looking at the news, you seeing people, just dying. And
Let me slow you down. What was the contraband?
it was a cell phone.
Now, you came before the board. The board encouraged you to continue to work hard and specifically stated to you, no write-ups. You knew and know cell phones, contraband, and you'll get a write-up if you get caught.
Yes, sir.
But you did it anyway. Explain to me why that board, I wasn't on that board, but that board specifically said, we're interested in your ability to maintain discipline. You want us to release you from a significantly serious killing. The people are still suffering from that. Yet you violate the rule. Tell me why you would do something.
Fear.
Fear of
Fear losing my family. My dad just was having a kidney transplant, and I tried to reach him through JPay. And I just wanted to check on my dad.
You took the law into your own hands. You knew it was a violation. You're asking me to release you, and when things get tough and things don't go your way, you find ways of doing it, whether they're legal or illegal, and that bothers me. Do you remember what the board told you
Yes, sir.
about write-ups?
Yes, sir.
Did you realize that that was likely something that would deny you another opportunity to get out?
Yes, sir.
Yet you did it anyway. Right?
Sir.
You did it anyway, right?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. You sort of downplayed what you did in the killing. What have you done in terms of looking inwardly to see what harm and what grief, what misery you have caused to the family of the person who was killed?
Other than educating myself, so I can be able to think through situations. I went through victim awareness, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot every program I went through is special to me, because a lot of them meant a lot to me, because a lot of things I didn't know I would ever achieve. But victim awareness taught me a lot of things. It taught me that I was a selfish person. It taught me that I'm not the only person in this world. It taught me that when I'm suffering through problems that I can't think through, it's not a bad thing to go ask for help. Before victim awareness, I had never even heard of the word empathy. And it just taught me that, what I did to Chris, me killing Chris, I put a lot on his family. And it is something that I wish wouldn't have never happened, because it's, as I grow as a man, you know, I understand that, you know, that it shouldn't have happened because we shouldn't have even been in them realms like that because we was all kids. You know, I don't own Zawali. I don't own Manny. You know, so why should I be out there fighting over it? And those are the things, you know, that I do to make sure that I don't never have to hurt anybody else or hurt anybody else's family. You know, just like my family, I hurt my family. You know, Chris' family, and it just shouldn't have happened. And I wish it wouldn't have never happened.
Mr. Greene, I appreciate your comments. I wish you would have described that when you described the killing, as opposed to something that just happened. That was a very significant event.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about what you've done while you've been in prison. What kind of work have you done? I know you've done some welding, you've got some certificates. So tell me what kind of a trade have you learned, or what sort of vocational skills have you learned while you've been in prison?
Well, I was on the carpenter crew for years, and once I received my high set, I went to welding school, which I was already welding at the metal fab years ago, and yep, carpenter crew. I mostly stayed on the carpenter crew. It's probably about my skills, a skilled trade, telecommunications. I went through that to you know, to help build my my skills and what I do. You know, I love doing carpentry work, even though I'm not a certified carpenter. I also love welding too.
What's your trustee status?
Class A.
How long you been a Class A trustee?
Since well, I had lost it in 15, and I got it back in at the end of 15. So I've been a trustee basically since 06.
You didn't lose your trustee status for the contraband in 20?
No, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your transition plan. Where you hope to live?
My transition plan is to go to the parole project first and stay there as long as I need it. And then once I transition from there, I go stay with my Aunt Pam in Shreveport and my Uncle Eddie.
What do you hope to do there?
Well, give me a job. Give me a job, and then once, you know, as I work, I try to find me another job that's better. If I don't have none that I feel like that I can, you know, move on from. But if it's a good job, I stay right there. I don't matter what kind of work I do, because I work. I don't have no problem with working.
When was the last time you smoked mojo?
Was in 15.
I see. Is that your family that's behind you now?
Yes, sir. That's some of them.
I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a few moments, okay? Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Greene?
You've been pretty thorough in questioning related to it. Yes, he did in fact complete his welding in 20. Has worked various jobs for us within maintenance as far as carpentry, worked in the mattress factory. He's been to several places throughout his years here. Amine started back in 06, lost it for a time in 15. Did not lose it during the cell phone contraband write-up in 20. He is currently coming out of maintenance. He's been an orderly right now on the East Shore. Far as his, any issues we've had with him in the last several years, other than the write-up in 20, not had any issues with him.
Thank you, Gordon. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Greene,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask your family, which is behind you, if they would just introduce themselves, please.
Yeah, my name is Al Vernon Alexander, and I'm Clifton Greene's stepfather.
Okay, thank you, sir. What other family members do you have there?
You're waiting on the bus.
My name is Carla Alexander, and I'm Cliff's stepmom by marriage.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rest of them
What
waiting.
other-
I said the rest of them waiting to catch the bus to get over there.
All right, well, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to let them all in because we're in the middle of the hearing, but if they get here before the end of the hearing, we'll introduce them and let them be on the record.
Okay. Sean Williams, Clifton, my old best friend.
Now we'll hear for any other questions.
Oh,
Now we'll hear from, okay, Ms. Wise.
Good morning, Clifton. I realize that you're nervous and, but this is really your time to shine. We want to be comfortable, first of all, in knowing what you did, who you were. You a long ways from that, doing that again. I'm gonna tell you a little short story. I went to a church in Shreveport Sunday, and I went and picked up a young lady because she didn't have a car, but she wanted to go. A good friend. When she got in the car, the first day she said, let me tell y'all what happened. This was Sunday morning. On Saturday, she was on her way to the grocery store, and she passed the house. 3 doors of the car were open. 2 guys were standing up shooting in the house. And what she describing it oozes. She don't know what it was. And she just talked about how upset she was, how she couldn't even go to the grocery because she didn't have a car of her own. She had borrowed a friend's car, so you tell you wouldn't use it. Got it. And she just talked about how upset she was, and just and I sit there and I said, you know what? We talk about secondary trauma. I'm traumatized just hearing you, tell it. And she said, but then of course she just watched through the rearview mirror, and the police would start coming. The guys just succinctly got in their cars and drove off at a normal rate of speed. They passed the police. This is in Shreveport. This was Saturday. So what would you say to somebody that happened to? What speak to that?
Well, I would say that, it's bad because I was one of those people. I really was. I was one of those people. Didn't have no respect to person. And I would tell her that I am truly sorry that she even had to go through anything like that. Because no one should have to live their life in fear. Because the next person don't know how to live their life. And that's really bad, but that's one of the people, that's who I was. As hard as bad as I would like to say that I wasn't, but that's who I was. I was one of those people.
You don't know if there's a child in the house. You don't know who all in the house. They would shoot.
And no one should have to live their life like that. No one. I was reading a book. I was reading this book by Dr. Miles Monroe, and he had this quote that I had read, and it stuck to me. When a man don't know his place in this world, he uses influence in negative ways, such as committing crimes. And, I don't want to be that man no more. I really don't. So if I don't have anything good to tell someone, I'm not going to tell them anything. And I'm not going to be negative about life because of my situation.
Thank you, sir. I saw that you did Kairos weekend in 2012. That's a very good ministry, a lot of work, a lot of money goes into that. What were some of your takeaways in that Kairos weekend?
Well, that Carl's movie was the first time I ever heard of Meshach, Reshach, and Indigo. It's about the tigers, the king had thrown the three Meshach and them in the fire pit. He said they only had 3 people, but when he looked down there, it was 4 people. And, that was the first time I ever even heard of that. That's what really made me start reading more of the Bible. It's going to Caro's. It's a good organization, and I really enjoyed it.
But for his write-ups and stuff, it didn't really change a whole lot. That's why I was wondering. But it did give you a curiosity for the Bible.
Yes, ma'am.
Because all those people that work that weekend are volunteers. Nobody gets paid. It's because of what the Bible says is why they devote their time to that weekend and their resources.
Exactly.
Their finances and all. All right. Thank you for answering my questions. That's all I had, Jim.
Thank you. Mr. Ross. I see more family members have come in. Would the family members of Mr. Greene just simply stand up and introduce themselves so we can put your names on the record?
All right. Ernst Bittman.
Carla Barking.
Algie Barkin.
And your relationship, whether you're a friend or family or what?
Family. Cousin. Family. Best friend.
Yeah, I need your names also, please.
Name and your relationship.
Willie Plater, best friend.
Okay,
Eddie Alexander, nephew.
thank you.
Pamela Alexander, aunt.
Thank you. And everyone? Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from your supporters. We'll start with Mr. Andrew Hunley. Ms. Hogan, I assume you want to finish at the end as normal?
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing on behalf of Clifton Greene. Clifton has been a client of our organization for several years now. We stood by him for his last parole hearing. We continue to stand by him. I have known and communicated with Clifton for the last several years as we've worked with him on his goals, but also I knew Clifton for several years before he became a client of the Parole Project also. A few things I'd like to point out about Clifton. First and foremost, I did not know Clifton when he committed this crime. We recognize, and I think Clifton would be the first person to tell you that he was a totally different person almost 30 years ago. He has always expressed his remorse to us for the crime he committed. I do believe that the victim awareness program that he participated in at Angola had a significant impact on him because of the language that he has used with us. So I just wanted to point out to the board that he's not just remorseful today, but he's expressed his remorse. He's very well aware of the impact that this crime had. But today he's a totally different person. We believe that he exemplifies growth and maturity, as was talked about in the Miller and Montgomery decisions. He has taken so many of the programs that are available to him at the prison. His work record at the prison is outstanding. I think one thing the board obviously considers many things when you think about whether you're going to grant someone parole or not. As it relates to entry, Clifton is 47 years old right now. I would say he is at a prime spot to go home, work, earn a living for the next several years. If he were denied parole today, it would be a minimum of 4 years before he could reapply. It might be 5 years before he could get another hearing. I just wanted to submit to the board that, in our opinion, the sweet spot is today. As it relates to the write-ups, because I just, this parole project and what we consider on our clients, we take the disciplinary record serious. Disciplinary record indicates how a person can comply with But what we did consider, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out to the board, that from 03 to 15, Clifton had no write-ups. He has displayed that he can comply with write-ups. He had a write-up in 15, 16, and 20. In considering that we would continue to represent Clifford after the 20 write-up, we considered a couple things. One, what did that disciplinary board at Angola look at? They gave him a suspended sentence. That day, they could not take his Class A trustee status. So I know that that disciplinary board has different considerations than this board had, but we understood that that disciplinary board of Angola thought he was worthy of a second opportunity. They acts that were surrounding that project, and they gave him a suspended sentence. So I just wanted to point that out. If Clifton is granted, something that Clifton has also told us is that he has no intention to return to Sabine Parish because he recognizes the harm that he caused people in Sabine Parish, and his reentry plan would never have him return to that area. If he is released for a project, we'll provide him housing while he goes through phase 1 of our program. We'll work with him to ensure that he has access to our programming. He will have access to a social worker. We will have a mental health and substance abuse assessment done, and he will be accepted to comply with with that assessment, in addition to with any conditions that this board might set on him. In closing, we have a high degree of confidence in Clifford's ability to re-enter the community, follow rules, work, earn a living, get back to the community in a way that would promote restorative justice.
Thank you, Mr. Hunley. We appreciate your comments. Now we'll hear from the opposition. First, we'll hear from Ms. Emma Joseph. Ms. Joseph.
Yes, I'm the mother of Christopher Joseph. I'm speaking on behalf of my loved one and my family members. Every time these hearings come up, it makes my mind go back to that horrible night when Clifton Greene shot my son in the head. After that happened, my husband followed that ambulance to the hospital. We could see the MTs pumping and pumping in Chris' chest. When they made it to the hospital, he was DOA. The MTs, they tried to revive him, but they couldn't. I wish that no parent had to experience what I've experienced in losing a child in this way. It's just so stupid for a person to kill another person just for no reason. I miss my son till this very day. I wish I could get him back, but I know that's not possible. He didn't do anything to anybody. He was just an innocent person. Chris loved life, having fun, full of laughter, joking and playing with his brothers and sisters who loved him dearly. He played with me and his dad. He was just like that. He was just that kind of person. Lovely. He was loved by family and even people of our community. The whole community loved him because of who he was, how he acted, how he carried himself. Everybody loved him. He didn't get a chance to finish experiencing life. He was 18 when this happened, 3 months away from having his 19th birthday. He didn't get a chance to know his nieces, nephews, He always missed, we always missed him on holidays, especially on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Especially on his birthday. My daughter does flowers and wreaths. She makes those. And she takes them to his grave on his birthday. That's the only time we get, just visit with him at his grave site while she's putting flowers on his grave. After having gone by everything, is still fresh in my heart and mind about what happened to my son and who is responsible for his death. So, board, when you look at all the pain and suffering, heartaches, my family and I've gone through, we're still struggling over the death of our loved one. Let Greene stay incarcerated for the murder of my son. He doesn't deserve to be paroled.
Thank you very much. Joseph, we appreciate your comments. Mr. Burkett?
I have one sibling that also wanted to speak briefly.
Sure.
Miss Shatrice Mallet.
Ms. Mallet, you would introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like us to know.
Well, I'm the youngest sibling of Christopher Joseph. And I'm here to ask that you do not grant Clifton Greene parole, for the reason being, even though it's almost been 30 years, I'm still hurt. I'm still, I feel tormented. And I lost my brother at the age of 8. I was 8 years old when this happened. And it still hurts. It's still fresh in my mind. And I'm 38 years old now, and I still have nightmares of seeing my brother on a stretcher, bloody. I still see that. I play that back in my mind. And it's just something that won't go away. No matter how many I'm sorry's I hear, or any of that, none of that can change what happened and how I feel and what I go through often because of what happened. And at night just plays over and over and over. And the last time we were here for a hearing, my dad spoke and he said, a person should never take anything that they cannot return. My brother's life can never be returned. He is gone forever. I will never get to see him again. He will never know the 2 children that I have. He wasn't there for my high school graduation, my wedding. He missed all of that. He didn't even have a chance at life. He didn't have a chance to experience anything. He didn't even have a chance to have kids. So, with that being said, my brother cannot have his life back. He took that from him. So I'm asking that you do not grant him parole, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Mr. Burkett?
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. I personally prosecuted this case 30-something years ago as a young district attorney. I don't really know what was going on between these young people in Manny and Zawali, our 2 towns in Sabine Parish that are about 10 miles apart. But for whatever reason, this carload of young people came driving down to Manny and circled through a parking lot of an apartment complex. Chris, as far as I could ever determine, was not involved in any of this feuding going on. He was just an innocent young man standing there with a group of other young people. Could have just as easily the gunshot hit somebody else as it did Chris. They were just firing indiscriminately as far as we could determine. And over the years, I've gotten to know the Joseph family very well. They're some of Sabine Parish's finest. Mr. and Miss Joseph, and Mr. Joseph has passed away in recent years, but they raised all these children, successful kids, graduated, went on further their education, jobs, families. None of them ever been in any trouble. Not one of them. Chris had never been in any trouble. He was just a young man standing out late in the evening, joking around, enjoying time with his friends, doing nothing. I mean, he would, as his mother said, he was totally innocent. He wasn't involved in any altercations with anybody, wasn't doing anything. And Clifton Greene chose to get in a car with these other young people, travel the 10 to 12 miles from Zwolle down to Manny, and drive through a parking lot and just unloading a gun into a crowd, and took the life of this young man at almost 19, not quite 19 years of age, and deprived his family of him. It's a sad, sad thing. Now, I don't know, I've listened. I don't know what all Clifton Greene has done since he's been in the penitentiary, what he's accomplished and what he hadn't. I hope he has learned some things. I hope he has tried to better himself. But the hurt and the pain that he's caused this family can never be undone. Thank you.
Thank you, Burkett. Mr. Greene, is there anything you'd like to say before Ms. Hogan closes out for us?
Yes, sir. First, I would like to thank the board for hearing my case. And again, I like to express my deepest apologies to Chris's family. I know it's nothing that I ever be able to do to undo for killing Chris. But every opportunity I have, to express that I am truly, truly sorry for what I did, I would do it, because they do deserve that. I don't deserve anything, because like they said, I took something that I can't give back. I truly can't, and it's a hard thing to lay down at night, have to think about. I actually took another man's life. It's nothing to be proud of. And I am truly, truly remorseful. I regret I regret for even killing Chris. And I just ask that the board, consider, because like I said, I don't deserve anything. 30 years, 40 years, I can't put no timetable on another person's life. And I would never try to. And I ask the board just consider me, just consider me. That's all I ask the board to do. And I thank y'all again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Greene. Ms. Hogan?
Thank you, Mr. Marabella. There is absolutely no justification or excuses. This is an indefensible crime. This is heinous, and there's nothing that can be said to undo what Clifton Greene willingly did when he was 17 years old. There's no mistake about that. What is also true, though, is that because Mr. Greene was 17 years old at the time that he committed this heinous crime, what the law says is that we must provide opportunities for release for juveniles convicted of homicide unless their crime was the mark of permanent incorrigibility. In 2017, a judge in Sabine Parish decided that based on Mr. Greene's institutional record, he was not the worst of the worst, and so he was therefore deserving of parole opportunities. And so what this board is tasked with today is looking at his entire institutional record and determining whether there is demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation over the past 29 years sufficient to warrant an opportunity for release. Since his last, I mean, you heard Mr. Greene describe that he came to Angola. He was one of the youngest people at Angola. When he got to Angola at the age of 18, he was illiterate. And he, after an adjustment period, he made strides and to educate himself, to take every available program, to work jobs of trust. The fact that he was written up in 2020 for a cell phone, but he didn't lose his status and he only lost his canteen privileges and phone privileges briefly, is really a testament to the trust that the institution has in Mr. Greene. Mr. Greene, since his last hearing, has taken a litany of programs. He, as Mr. Hundley said, even if Mr. Greene doesn't seem sincere in this interview today, every interview that I've ever had with him, he has expressed such profound insight in the impact that what he did had on his community, had on the Joseph family, and had on the community at large. Mr. Greene probably has one of the best insights, and it's not just because he wants to go home. It's a true insight into what he did and the harm that it caused. Attached to the brief that I filed, there is an accountability letter that I think is one of the best accountability letters that I've ever read as well. It doesn't attempt to minimize at all the pain that he caused. And so based on his demonstrated maturity and rehabilitation, it is unmistakable that he is not the person, he is not permanently incorrigible, he is not the person that committed this heinous act anymore. He has grown into somebody different. He has a reentry plan that will not ever take him back to Sabine Parish. And so based on all of these factors, we would ask this board to grant Mr. Greene's parole under any conditions that are deemed appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Greene, first off, I'd like to thank the Joseph family for the courage to be here today. I hear your pain, I hear your grief, and I hear your loss. Mr. Greene robbed you of your brother, your son, and you've suffered tremendously, and you continue to suffer. Mr. Greene, we were 17 years old when this happened. I didn't particularly like the way you described the incident. As you talked, as we went on, I think you were sincere in your understanding of what you did and what pain you caused to people. You worked hard while you've been in prison. Your crime, without question, was heinous, senseless, and had devastating effects on many, many people, as you pointed out, the rippling effect of what that happened. As Ms. Weiss points out, all people around that crime still affected by what you did. Our role as a pardon board, as a parole board, is to determine, among other factors, crime itself, the significance of the crime, whether or not you've changed. Everyone has a different role. Mr. Burkett had a role in prosecuting the case. Law enforcement had a role in arresting you. The judge had a role. The jury had a role in sentencing you. The legislature had a role. Courts had a role in changing the law. Our responsibility today is to look at all of those factors and to look and see who you are today at 47 years old. This decision would be a little easier for me had you not got that write-up in 2020. That write-up significantly concerns me because this board, a different board, I was not on the board. The board specifically stated to you they were looking at you to show your responsibility by not getting any other write-ups. And you got one. Even though there were mitigating circumstances, even though there were things that you felt were very strong reasons for doing it, you still did it. That bothers. I think that you are a completely changed person. I think since that write-up, which was over 2 years ago, you've taken thinking for change, you've taken victim impact, and you've explained to me what that means to you. If my vote to deny your parole would bring back a loved one, I'd do it in a second. But it won't. It won't ever change what you do. So my responsibility today is to determine whether or not you have earned the right to return to society in certain ways. It is meaningful to me that the Department of Corrections in viewing your write-up in 2020, you didn't lose your trustee status. You got a suspended sentence. There must have been some mitigation there. You explained a little bit of that. Greene, this is a hard case. I have been very touched by the diligence. I have been very touched by Mr. Burkett's words. And I've been very moved by what you've accomplished. I'm going to take a chance with you. My vote today is to be to vote to grant your parole with the following conditions: that you report to the Louisiana Parole Project. You follow all of their recommendations, that you get a substance abuse evaluation, follow all of those recommendations, 3 AA meetings per week, as well as 5 hours of community service work per month. That would start after about 6 months that you've been out. I've only one vote, 2 other people do. So that's my vote. We'll check.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Greene.
Good morning.
Mr. Greene, you interviewed very well this morning. But as everyone has stated, you are a juvenile life. And I am supposed to look for maturity and rehabilitation. And a sign of maturity is to do what you're supposed to do and follow the rules of society. And for you, society is the confines of Louisiana State Penitentiary. And you had mitigating circumstances and had a decision to make. In 2018, this board told you that you were denied because of a write-up. And you consciously violated a rule of your society by ownership of a cell phone, no matter what the reason is, because I know if you told the staff at Angola that you had a sick family member, especially your father, they would have made concessions for you to stay in contact with your family. It was a sign of immaturity to violate that rule.
And that was only 2 years ago. We were explicitly told by the last board to stay right up free. Angola or the staff at Angola thought that it was justified, they would have expunged or dismissed the write-up. With the write-up, you were found guilty and you received some discipline with the loss of canteen and phone privilege. So they thought it was serious enough to stand by the write-up and not expunge it from your record. And my concern is when you get out and you get into another bind, what other rule are you going to break? When you get into a pressure situation, like you were in when you want to know the condition of your father, what other rule or law you going to break to get some satisfaction for yourself? You knew if you get got caught with that cell phone, it would jeopardize your chances of release. You knew that. And with the pain and anguish and suffering his family is going through, and you showing that sign of immaturity, you leave no other choice for me to deny your request and ask if you're not released, stay right up free until your next hearing. It's not that much to ask for. You're asking for your freedom. You jeopardized your freedom. I did not. I'm going to deny your request primarily on the write-up that you got for contraband in 2020.
Thank you. Ms. Wise?
Yes, sir. Mr. Greene, to the Joseph family, I appreciate the courage that it took for you guys to participate in the hearing this morning, I'm so sorry for your loss. Mr. Greene, I don't, like I said, this is hard. This has been challenging. I've listened very intently, despite the fact that I was on my cell phone, just looking up different things, but I was definitely engaged in this. I really appreciate the family support that you have. Very seldom you hear somebody say, you got two best friends behind you. We don't want to get to hear that. That's great. That's really great. But for me, I would like to see a longer period right up for you in considering your age and the life sentence. And also the victim opposition to express today, I'm going to deny as well. I want to encourage you to reapply and stay the course. That's what you do.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Greene, you have 2 votes to deny your parole, 1 vote to grant. Your parole has been denied today, but you've been encouraged to continue. I think all 3 of us are very concerned about that write-up. And as Mr. Roche pointed out, it's something that you brought upon yourself. So I encourage you to remain right up free, continue to do the positive things you're doing. And perhaps the next time the vote will be different. But today, your parole has been denied. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Wow, I actually was surprised Miss Wise typically would I think, have given parole, but it's possible because of the experience she just had that that she just didn't. She picked up her friend. That was interesting. It's the power of stories. She's a good storyteller too. Don't ever underestimate the power of the story. She said she picked up her friend. Was it to go to church? Because she didn't have a ride, and she's driving down the road and she sees these people. She thought it was an Uzi just up a house, and I looked it up, and it seems that these kinds of things happen in Louisiana so often. It's not even a big story. It's like on KSLA channel 12, like a few words, a couple pictures. 60 rounds were fired. The victim was hit in the arms and legs, but non-life threatening. Trying to unpack this, right? He was also a baby at the time. He was 17. He got a life sentence, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning, which feels like a lifetime ago. I'll include that link where he was able to, because he was under 17, get a Supreme Court ruling that he is even allowed to have parole hearings. So he didn't have a commutation hearing. He just said it was unconstitutional. I think his Seventh Amendment right. So what is he, 47 years old? He's been in almost 30 years. And the DA, he really spoke well. He's like a classic DA from, like, you could script him in a movie, the way he spoke. He painted the picture that helped me realize what kind of crime this was, which seemed completely senseless. Was it mistaken identity? I mean, I don't feel like we have any clarity on why it happened, which just makes it that much harder to digest. This was this young boy, 17 also, who is from this great family, who's never done anything wrong. He's hanging out with his friends, and then his life is taken for no reason. It's just senseless. You hear the pain that his mother is still in. That was it, his sister? And I do come back to what Mr. Roche said, and it's I think he hit it on the nose. It's, you know, he knew that he was going to have another parole hearing. He was told by the parole board, don't get a write-up. And then he made the conscious decision to take the risk. And we don't know all the details, because I guess being in prison can be complex. I've heard that sometimes you have to take a write-up if you want to live. I don't know. You know, if maybe it wasn't his phone, right? That's possible. But I think to the point, it wasn't to, they sometimes expunge the record if they think that something like that happened. They didn't do that. But assume that none of that did happen. He would have had to have bought the phone, which is very expensive. So it's putting a lot of thought into it, knowing risk, knowing that you could be caught at any moment. It is scary. It's because, like was said by the board, if you'll do that in prison with everything on the line, well, where are you showing the maturity that you won't do something to break the rules with everything on the line on the outside? We have to get over the fact that it's just a cell phone. What's the damage? What's the harm? And that's not the point. The point is that everything was on the line for you. You had everything to lose by taking the cell phone, and you took the risk. You did it to yourself. And that part is why I can align with this rejection. I believe that he would have absolutely have gotten the paroled if he did not have that write-up. And he will have another chance. And again, it is in his power to not get another write-up. And it's sad that this family is going to have to show up all over again and do this all over again. I wonder how many people were in the car, because then they have to attend all of those parole hearings. It's like the continuing pain. It just doesn't go away. Also, did I miss the details? Do we know if they all had weapons? Did they all pull the trigger? To me, that makes a difference. If you don't have a weapon and you're in the car, it makes a difference. But it doesn't, still wouldn't change anything right now. You know, people do a lot of dumb things when they're teenagers. But it's a different level of dumb when you just go to a random neighborhood and just shoot up a crowd. It's just scary stuff. Yeah, well, that's it. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I love getting the different diverse views. And with that, I will let you go.